Welcome back to the channel. Today's story will hold your breath hostage. It's about a boy who thought he had found comfort, only to stumble on a secret older than his fear. Let's begin. He first met her at a small rooftop party in Lekki. She wasn't loud or flashy like the others. In fact, she wore a soft, knowing smile and gold-rimmed glasses that made her look more like a lecturer than the big madam people whispered about. She didn't drink, but she watched. She watched him like she already knew what he'd say before he said it. She introduced herself as Auntie Clara. The name sounded too homely for someone sitting in a black Benz that sparkled like it had never seen rain. He laughed, called her madam, and she smiled without showing teeth. They exchanged numbers. At first, it was harmless: lunch at quiet places, fancy clothes he didn't ask for, transfers he didn't know he needed. She always said, "Just enjoy yourself, dear. You make me laugh." But there was something odd. She always gave him money on Fridays, never any other day. And any time he tried to ask about her family or friends, she'd tilt her head, smile, and say, "Let's not spoil the mood." He didn't care. To him, life had changed. No more trekking to Yaba under sun. No more begging his uncle for data. Now he had a sugar mummy. And life was good. Until one day, she asked him to come to her house, not the one in Lekki she showed on Snapchat. A quiet place in a remote corner of Ikorodu. The compound was too quiet. The gateman stared too long. And inside, the air smelled like old perfume and dried herbs. She said, "Feel at home," but he couldn't. The walls had pictures, but none with her face. Only carvings. Eyes. Birds. Moons. Still, he sat. Ate her food. Slept on her couch. And when he woke up at midnight to use the toilet, he heard soft humming. It was coming from under the floor. He stood still for a moment, thinking it was the sound of a leaking pipe or an old generator. But the humming was steady, soft like a lullaby, and it was coming from below. He tiptoed to the kitchen, where the sound grew louder. His skin tightened. Every hair on his arm stood. The kitchen tiles looked new, but near the fridge, one corner had a faint crack. Something pulsed beneath it, a low beat, almost like a second heartbeat. He leaned down, trying to listen better, when he heard her voice behind him. "Did you sleep well?" she asked, smiling like nothing was strange. He jumped. Yes, ma. I was just getting water." She walked past him, opened a cupboard, and brought out a bottle of Zobo. "Drink. It helps you sleep better." He took it, forcing a smile, but didn't drink. The bottle was cold, but his hand felt hot holding it. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Later that day, she gave him a gold necklace. Heavy, with a strange symbol hanging from it, a triangle with a single eye in the middle. "For protection," she said, clasping it herself around his neck. Her hands were warm, too warm. When he tried to remove it the next day, it wouldn't come off. No hook. No clasp. Just stuck. He pulled, twisted, even tried oil, nothing. He wanted to ask her about it, but every time he looked at her, his voice failed. He just smiled and nodded. It felt like the more he stayed around her, the less he questioned anything. That week, he saw her talking to 3 girls around his age. They were laughing, too loud, like they'd just been given good news. He saw her hand each of them a small envelope, then whisper something close to their ears. 2 days later, those girls were gone. Blocked everyone. Disappeared like they never existed. When he asked her casually, she said, "People go where they're called." His chest tightened. His lips dry. His thoughts started running backward. The humming. The girls. The necklace. The house. The look in her eyes. And yet, he still stayed. He told himself he would leave, just get up and go. But each time he planned it, something held him back. Not fear exactly, more like fog. His thoughts would start strong but melt away before action followed. That Sunday, she took him to a compound deep in Badagry. Long road. No signs. Palm trees on both sides, and a silence that felt borrowed. Inside the compound, 4 men sat around a fire, wearing white. No one spoke to him. They only nodded like they already knew who he was. She said he should sit. They gave him a drink. It tasted like bitter cola soaked in ash. He coughed, but no one reacted. Then she leaned in and whispered, "This is your introduction." He blinked. Introduction to what? She smiled. "You'll know soon." Later that night, she drove him back without a word. Her eyes never left the road. The radio played soft highlife music, but it felt like a funeral march. Back home, he checked himself in the mirror. His necklace glowed faintly, like it had absorbed something. And for the first time, he noticed a small black dot on his chest, right below the charm. It wasn't there before. He texted his cousin, someone he hadn't spoken to in months. "Guy, I know day okay." But the message refused to send. Network fine, battery full. Still, the text vanished. Then, things turned. He started hearing voices. Not loud, not clear, but whispers. When he slept, he'd wake up with dried leaves on his bedsheet. And every morning, the mark on his chest got darker. She still smiled every day. Cooked like nothing was wrong. Spoke softly. Asked about his dreams. And each time he lied, she'd say, "You're safe. Don't lie to me." One evening, he followed her when she thought he was asleep. She walked to the back of the compound, barefoot. The moon was full. The wind still. She knelt by a stone and began to hum. Same tune. Same pattern. Then she took off her wrapper, revealing white markings all over her skin, strange symbols, glowing faintly. And that's when he saw it, a small wooden box buried under the stone. She opened it and pulled out a photograph. It was his. He stumbled backward, heart thudding like a drum. How did she get that photo? It wasn't one from his social media, no filter, no background blur. Just him, standing by his late father's grave, a picture only his mother had. He crept back inside, tried to calm himself, tried to make sense of anything. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept staring at the necklace, then the ceiling, waiting for the humming to return. It didn't. Just silence. A thick, suffocating silence. By morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made his favorite yam and egg, called him sweet boy, and told him to wear white. They were going somewhere special. He refused. Said he had plans. Said he needed space. She looked at him quietly, then touched his shoulder. Her palm was hot again. "Don't say no to the hand that feeds you," she said gently. When he looked in the mirror later that day, the necklace had changed. The triangle was gone. Now it was shaped like a horn. He pulled again, twisted hard, nothing. That black dot on his chest had widened into a faint ring. That evening, he ran. Left his clothes, his phone, everything. Took only a small bag and went to his uncle's place in Aja. He didn't explain, just begged to sleep there. The man agreed, thinking it was one of those boy Wahala stories. But that night, something strange happened. His uncle's dog, usually calm, barked nonstop the entire night, facing only his room door. The next morning, the wall beside his bed was covered in chalk, drawn symbols he didn't put there. He asked his uncle if he noticed anything. The man looked confused. "You sure say you day all right?" That afternoon, he went to a local herbalist his friend recommended. The man took one look at him and stepped back. "Who gave you that chain?" the herbalist asked. He hesitated. "A woman." The man hissed sharply. "You're marked. She didn't give you that for fashion. She gave it to tie your soul." He laughed nervously. "But she likes me." The man replied coldly, "That's not love. That's possession." The herbalist didn't touch him. Instead, he gave him a small bottle filled with bitter green liquid and said, "Drink this at midnight. And do not sleep. If you survive till dawn, you may be free." That night, the boy locked himself inside his uncle's guest room. No lights. No sounds. At exactly 12:01 a.m., he took the bitter drink. It burned his throat and stung his eyes. He coughed till tears rolled down. Then the room changed. Not physically, but the air. It became thicker. Heavy like wet cloth. The walls felt like they were closing in. And the whispers returned, this time louder, clearer. "You belonged to her. She gave you comfort. She owns you now." He covered his ears, but the voices seeped into his bones. His skin began to itch, and when he looked down, the black ring on his chest was glowing, faint red like dying coal. Then the worst part came, the mirror in the corner cracked on its own. Slowly. One line. Then two. Then it shattered, but without sound. No glass fell. Just a clean split. And in that mirror, for a split second, he saw her face. Not smiling. Not soft. But cold. Eyes black. Her lips moving but no sound. By 3 a.m., his nose started bleeding. The necklace was hot now. Burning hot. He tried pulling it again, no use. He screamed, but no one heard. Then the door creaked. It opened slowly, though he had locked it. Standing there, not the herbalist, not his uncle, but a girl. One of the girls she had spoken to at the compound. Her eyes were pale, her feet dirty, and she said nothing. Just pointed to his chest. Then turned and vanished. By morning, he woke up on the floor. Shirt torn. No blood. No marks. But the necklace was gone. In its place, a long, thin scar in the shape of a hook. He returned to the herbalist, shaking. The man looked at him for a long time and said, "She's angry now. You broke her gift. But it's not over. You must finish what you started." He couldn't sleep again after that. His body was there, but his mind kept drifting back, to her eyes, the cracked mirror, the hook-shaped scar. Every noise made him jump. Even his shadow felt foreign. The herbalist gave him one final warning. If you don't confront her spirit, you will keep seeing those who've already gone. They will pull you, one by one, until you join them. He didn't understand fully, but he knew one thing. He had to go back. Back to her. That night, he returned to the house in Ikorodu. The gate was unlocked. The lights inside were off. The place smelled like old wood and ashes. He stepped in slowly, calling out her name. No response. But something told him she knew he was there. In the sitting room, everything was just as he left it. The carvings. The strange paintings. But this time, there were extra candles lined along the walls, all black, all lit. He walked towards the kitchen. The humming had returned, not from beneath, but from above this time. Upstairs. He climbed the stairs, his heart beating like talking drum. At the last room on the corridor, the door was half open. Inside, she sat on the floor, her back to the door, wrapped in red cloth, with incense smoke circling her head like a crown. "You came back," she said softly, still not turning. He swallowed hard. "I came to end this." She chuckled. "You don't end what was done in blood." He stepped closer. "You lied to me. You gave me things just to tie me down." She finally turned, her face calm but ancient. Her eyes weren't eyes, they were black holes. No whites. No pupils. Just emptiness. "I gave you what you asked for, peace, comfort, freedom," she whispered. "All I asked was loyalty." He raised the herbalist's charm. "I'm taking my life back." She stood slowly. Then you must pay. The walls began to shake. Candles flickered. Her form shifted, 1 second human, the next a shadow, the next something in between. He shouted a name the herbalist taught him, once, twice. On the third try, everything stopped. She collapsed. The candles died. But her last words rang in his ears, "They'll come for you now. I was only the gate." He ran. Down the stairs. Out the gate. Into the street barefoot, not caring who watched. His chest burned again, not from heat, but from something deeper. Something clawing inside. The herbalist was waiting. As if he knew. "You saw her true form," the man said calmly. "But you've only opened the first door." The boy couldn't speak. Just nodded. For the next 7 days, he couldn't stay alone. Strange things kept happening. Chairs moved, water boiled without fire, animals avoided him. One night, he opened his eyes to find his pillow soaked in red. Not blood, but palm oil. Thick. Smelling of something old. The herbalist finally explained. She was part of a covenant. A chain. Each person tied to another. Now that she's gone, the chain looks for a new holder. And it knows you. "So I'm cursed now?" the boy asked, voice dry. "No. But you're marked. You must cleanse yourself before the next moon." The ritual was nothing like movies. No dancing. No shouting. Just silence, a river, and 3 eggs. He stood waist deep in water as the herbalist broke the eggs, one after the other, naming his father's name, his mother's name, and finally his. The river bubbled. Cold wind passed. Then he was told not to look back as he left. But curiosity is louder than wisdom. He turned. What he saw was not the herbalist anymore, but the woman. Her dress soaked. Her hair wild. Her hand raised, pointing. He screamed and collapsed. When he woke, he was home. No herbalist. No river. Just him, sweating on his uncle's floor. He called out. No one answered. He stepped outside. The street was empty. Silent. Not even a car passed. Then he looked down. The necklace was back. Exactly the same. Triangle. One eye. Hanging from his neck like it had never left. And this time, there was no clasp at all. He didn't remember walking home. Or removing his clothes. Or sleeping. But there he was, lying on the floor, the necklace tight on his neck again, tighter than before. It felt like fingers. He ran to the mirror. His eyes looked sunken, his skin pale. The scar on his chest had changed shape, now it looked like a mouth. Small, but open. He grabbed a blade. Tried to cut the chain. It didn't even scratch. He heated a spoon, pressed it to the metal, no change. Then his uncle barged in, shouting, "Where have you been?" He tried to explain, but the words tangled. Nothing made sense when he said it out loud. His uncle stared, then quietly said, "I think you need a hospital." But deep down, he knew no hospital could help him. Later that night, he sat alone on the floor, rocking slowly. No music. No phone. Just silence. Then a voice, soft, childlike, whispered from behind the curtain. "You should have just stayed with her." He jumped. Flung the curtain wide open, nothing. Then laughter. Low. Echoing from inside the wardrobe. He turned to run but the door slammed shut. Lights went off. Then, complete blackness. He screamed. Kicked. Cried. But no sound left his mouth. He could feel something crawl across his skin, like ants, but colder. A voice echoed through the dark. "She gave you a life. And you broke the bond." He felt a sharp sting on his back, like a whip. Then another. Then something warm trickled down his spine. Suddenly, a bright white light burst through the ceiling. He shielded his eyes. A tall figure stepped through it. A woman, but taller than any human. Wearing the same red wrapper. Same calm face. But this time, no smile. "You are mine," she said. He tried to shout, but his voice was gone. Tried to move, but his legs were rooted. Then she raised her hand, and everything around him crumbled. The floor. The walls. Even the air. He fell. Into nothing. Then, silence. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the same room. Same bed. Same mirror. Only now, the necklace was glowing again. And his reflection was smiling on its own. Days passed, but nothing felt normal anymore. People at school whispered behind his back. Friends avoided his calls. Even his uncle seemed distant, as if afraid to meet his eyes. The necklace pulsed softly, reminding him that she was still close. He tried to take it off again, but the metal was now fused with his skin, cold and alive. One afternoon, he found a hidden door beneath the living room tiles of her house, the one in Ikorodu. It was dusty and small, like a trapdoor. Curiosity pulled him down a narrow staircase into darkness. At the bottom, a room covered in symbols glowed faintly. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows. On the floor lay dozens of photographs, some of girls, some of boys, all marked with the same triangle symbol. In the corner, a wooden chest. He opened it slowly. Inside, a book bound in faded leather. On the cover, the same triangle with the eye. He opened it carefully. The pages were filled with rituals, chants, and sacrifices. One page was marked with fresh blood stains. He read silently. To bind a soul is to claim a life. To break the bond is to release a curse. The last sacrifice must be paid, or the chain tightens forever. Suddenly, a whisper from behind made him freeze. "Do you understand now?" She stood there, no longer the soft Auntie Clara but the powerful woman she truly was. Her eyes dark pools, her smile sharp as a knife. "I gave you a choice." He shook his head. "Why me?" She stepped closer. "Because you saw too much. Because you wanted freedom." He swallowed hard. "How do I end this?" Her smile faded. "You don't. But I will try." The room grew colder. She whispered, "Then prepare to pay." He knew there was no running now. The house felt alive, watching him, waiting for his next move. He couldn't tell who was real anymore, the woman, the whispers, or his own fear. That night, he gathered what little courage he had left. He returned to the room beneath the tiles and lit candles around the circle of symbols. He opened the book to the last page, trembling. The ritual was simple, yet terrifying, a sacrifice of truth and courage. He had to face the past, the lies, and the power that held him captive. He closed his eyes and spoke aloud the words. "I am no longer your prisoner. I claim my freedom with all that I am." The room trembled. The candles flickered. The necklace burned his skin until he tore it off, metal melting into the air like smoke. A scream echoed through the house. The woman appeared, no longer human, her eyes blazing with fury. But this time, he stood tall. "Your chains do not bind me anymore," he said. The house shook violently. Walls cracked. Windows shattered. And then, silence. When dawn broke, the house looked abandoned, empty, like no one had lived there for years. He walked away, scarred but free. The necklace was gone. And for the first time in months, he smiled without fear.